Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 13 of season 1 of Star Wars Rebels called Fire Across the Galaxy. Now this is our season finale and I really do like the title here because it kind of harkens back to the actual first episode, which was Spark of Rebellion. Well, now we've seen that spark burn into a fire that is, as the title said, spreading across the galaxy. The actions of our heroes have indeed given the rebellion a nice boost, and this is looks like it's probably one of the first times where the rebel cells have rallied together to strike a significant blow against the Empire. This is really, in a lot of ways, probably the Rebel Alliance's debut, at least in a very open and blatant fashion. And let's face it, nothing says, "Hey, Empire, you suck," like blowing up a Star Destroyer and, humiliating Grand Moff Tarkin. So, yeah, not a bad start for the Rebel Alliance, but those guys, of course, have a long, long way to go. Now, all the characters, of course, have their moments to shine in this episode. Particularly Sabine, she has some really cool stuff going on at the beginning of the episode. Her taunting the stormtroopers and really kind of helping Hera and Zeb get out of there at the very end. It just really goes to show you that she might be young, but Sabine is certainly not somebody to be underestimated. Then again, if you've actually been keeping a running count of the body count that she's racked up over the course of the season, that should already be exceptionally clear. But at the end of the day, it's really the Jedi stuff that really is going to be what people are talking about. So let's kind of get right into that. And Ezra sensing Kanan still on that Star Destroyer, similar to how Luke had sensed Darth Vader in the actual movies, and of course, Kanan being tortured again, similar to stuff that has happened to both Leia and Han Solo, and of course, this all ends up in two Jedi fighting a Sith in this really kind of industrial area, I should say, very reminiscent of Attack of the Clones. And I gotta say, I really like that scene where Kanan, grabbed Ezra's lightsaber and is using it really like bam, bam, bam. He's using it as a blaster, then he's using it as a lightsaber. He's bouncing back and forth between all of that, and that just I just was watching that as go like, wow, it's sort of a shame that all Jedi didn't have lightsabers like that. Because if you stop and think about it, it's a really practical weapon. You get both range and, melee capabilities there. And even Ezra sort of stops there for a moment and goes, why didn't I ever think of that? And, of course, we get to see what happens when Kanan thinks that Ezra is dead, even though Ezra is in a place where Kanan really should have been able to see him perfectly clearly from where he was kneeling. I mean, he's just on this little platform off to the side, and Kanan just does not, for whatever reason, see him. I mean, I suppose you could just chalk that up to panic, but still. And then, after we have those moments where after he thinks Ezra's dead, he gets the two lightsabers and he just gets really eerily calm. That's classic tranquil fury. And he even had me fooled for a second there. It's like, whoa, did he go all Zen, all Yoda and stuff? And then I'm like, oh no, he's just mad as all hell. He's just not letting it show. And that is kind of the Jedi way. If you're there, you're screaming and all this other stuff. That's kind of moving towards the dark side. Now, it's not that some Jedi sometimes won't get angry when they're fighting, especially if someone they care about has been hurt. But what the Jedi believe in is that you take that and you detach from it. You let it go, to use a somewhat overblown song. Now, Kanan is not exactly doing that. His anger is there, and he internally is acknowledging that it's there. But he's not letting the anger control him. And that's the difference. That's what makes all the difference. Now, in the ideal situation, he would be able to take those feelings, just sort of take a deep breath, and then push it aside. Deal with his anger later. But if you really pay attention to the Jedi in Star Wars, you realize that they don't just like switch it off. They don't switch their feelings off. I mean, even Yoda got mad sometimes. If you really pay attention, like when he saw people really crossing the line, Yoda would get angry, but he does exactly what Kanan does. He gets really calm, and he doesn't let the anger control him. You see, that's the major difference between Sith and Jedi. Is that Sith, they sort of see their passion, their anger, their lust, their greed, whatever, as fuel for the fire. But it's really not. It's really what binds them. It chains them. If they're not feeling those emotions, then they're weaker. And of course, there's nothing a Sith fears more than being weak. So as much as they might think that, I'm the master of my anger and my passion, all this, no, at the end of the day, the Sith are really slaves to their own fear. I mean, Yoda says that fear is the path to the dark side for a reason. And it's for more reasons than those ones that he rattles off to Luke on Dagobah. But anyway, it was very cool to see the Inquisitor kind of like having those like, oh hell moments when he realized like, I've underestimated this guy. Maybe I shouldn't have taunted him about being a coward and Order 66 and all of this stuff. And then we get that absolutely awesome moment where he just wrecks the Inquisitor's lightsaber. That was cool as hell. I mean, the Inquisitor's lightsaber is very interesting, but it's one of those ones where you just look at it and you go, man, in real life that would be the most ridiculous thing ever. But, it's Star Wars. You can't get hung up on stuff like that. But in any case, I was, when I saw that scene at the moment, kind of confused as to why the Inquisitor let himself fall into that explosion and die. Like, there are some things even more terrifying than death. And then look who shows up at the very end, but friggin' Darth Vader. And it's like, oh, yeah, the Inquisitor decided he would rather die than be punished by Darth Vader. Yeah, okay, I can understand that. Yeah, it is very fun to read those stories that are actually told from Darth Vader's perspective, or actually focus on him as a character. Because a lot of those stories really do a nice job just showing you just how utterly ruthless Vader is. I mean, this is a man who doesn't really need to, torture people and all this other stuff to get what he wants, although he's certainly not above it. It's just the sheer ruthlessness of anybody who stands in his way for any reason is going to get cut down. And, that's one of the reasons why we love Darth Vader, is that he's just an absolutely terrifying presence. Just the idea of him makes, heroes and villains alike both fill their pants. That's what's great about him. So yeah, really nicely done there. And of course, it's unfortunate to lose Jason Isaacs from the show, but this just sort of leaves the door open for them perhaps using Vader in a more significant role next season. Now, we can certainly hope that James Earl Jones is going to find it in his schedule to come back and maybe do some work on the show. Well, if not, they've had other people do Darth Vader in like the Star Wars video games and stuff, so I'm sure it'll be just fine. But, yeah, so hoping for some James Earl Jones. Speaking of characters from the original movies, from the movies, we of course get another brief cameo by Bail Organa, which is cool and all. But I was watching that and I kind of got thinking, you know what? If I'm doing my math right, Leia would be about 15 years old at this point in history. So she'd be just a little younger than Sabine and just a little older than Ezra. How fun would it be to have young Leia and Ezra and Sabine kind of team up? Go out there and raise some hell and shoot some stormtroopers. I mean, hey, somebody had to teach Leia how to shoot like that, huh? Why not have her pick up a few points from Sabine? That would be kick ass. But anyway, And then, of course, there's the big reveal of Fulcrum being Ahsoka Tano. Now, this is something that more than a few people had guessed, and we've talked about it here on my reviews of the show before. And I have to say, this is something I am totally in favor of. Ahsoka's great. I've been a fan of this character for a long time. I even got to meet Ashley Eckstein this summer when she was appearing at C2E2 in Chicago. So I got a nice picture of her. Well, not of Ahsoka, signed by her. That was very cool. Let me see here. Ahsoka looking more than a little bit like she did in that vision that she had on Mortis of her future self. Although they've obviously tinkered with the design a little bit. Also noticed that this version of Ahsoka basically is designed to be a little bit less, hey, look at my boobs, than Mortis Ahsoka was. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'd be not doing my duty as a reviewer if I didn't point that out. Yeah, because when you want to talk about the serious storytelling and characterization and symbolism available in these shows, what that really means is you want me to talk about boobs. But why not? Because boobs are awesome. But anyway, I'm not surprised that Kanan didn't go like, whoa, hey, Ahsoka Tano. I mean, he's yeah. He would have to know who she was. Remember, she would have only been slightly older than he was when she left the Jedi Order. And of course, before she left the Jedi Order, there was that whole thing of her being put on trial for murder. So even though he may not have known her personally, he would have certainly known of her. But now's not really the time for reminiscing about Cabana Night at the Jedi Temple or whatever. But definitely, I want to see some scenes next season where those two just sort of take a moment, step aside, and just sort of like talk about like, hey, we're probably two of the last remaining Jedi in the entire galaxy. What should we do about this? Or just sort of reminisce a little too. That'd be really great. And then we also have a nice little moment between Hera and Kanan, and I think she even called him like, what was it, Dear? Yeah, I think she referred to Kanan as Dear. And people have really been saying there's like something between those two. I don't think it's anything really explicit. I mean, I'm guessing that privacy is very much at a premium there on the Ghost, so I don't think that, to put it bluntly, there's much chance that there was some funny business going on in the broom closets, if you take my meaning. But still, I think it has been really implied that these two are just a little bit more than friends, but exactly what is unclear. Now, if you've read the novel A New Dawn, which is the first new Star Wars novel set in the new universe, and it is considered canon, you do see that when Kanan and Hera first met, he was more than a little attracted to her. In fact, like, hey, hot Twi'lek chick, had more than a bit of influence in him getting involved with Hera in the first place. But it never gels in anything significant beyond friendship in the book. But that is also set a couple of years before the show picks up, so maybe there was a time when they were more than friends and it's simmered down back to just friendship now, but who knows. And in any case, I have to say this has been a very satisfying season. I mean, this has been good Star Wars. Not without its flaws, but then Star Wars has never been without its flaws. But all in all, it's been good storytelling. The characters are interesting. They're playing with the Star Wars universe in a way that is respectful towards what has come before. There's been nods to the previous expanded universe, and at the end of the day, it's just good Star Wars storytelling. Again, not without its flaws, but this is fun. And this is just getting me even more excited for when we get to see the new movies come out. I'm kind of wondering, well, what are they going to do here on the show that might tie into those a little bit more once those finally start get underway. I mean, it's really interesting to think about, and this is absolutely, positively a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Okay, everybody, that's all I have for you this time. I will most definitely be back to do review season 2 of the show. I enjoyed it quite a lot. So until then, please check out some of the other shows that I am reviewing. And of course, please comment, rate, and subscribe. Until next time, take care and have a good one.